Morning, guys. Well, just because you go up at the crack of doom doesn't mean the rest of us are going to. Anywho, I hope you guys over here in the UK and Europe have all remembered to turn your clocks back. I really do. Because, you know, that's a good thing. Okay? Because it's actually, I mean, it says 16 minutes past 6 on my computer. Yesterday this would have been 7. So, you know, put your clocks back if you haven't.
Not yet.
Thankfully, everything but the microwave in this house actually turns itself back, so I'm not that bothered.
Yeah, I got that wake-up call this morning.
Did you?
Thinking, oh yeah, I slept in. Oh no.
Bollocks. Bless ya. So anywho, as I normally do first thing in the morning,
Cat thinks it's 7 o'clock.
this clock thinks it's 7 o'clock. Oh no. Oh. Bless her. We're going to go through this for 6 months now. I think we should just feed her.
No.
You're an asshole.
No, she gets used to a time and then that's it.
Yeah, and then it gets changed every 6 months. She doesn't know the clocks have gone back.
What's wrong with her? What is she? I'll give her a line.
You're going to give her catnip. Freaking drug pusher, you. Anywho, so, moving along. I follow Matt Preston on pretty much everything. I really do like Matt. I like that he, in MasterChef Australia, was the champion of the everyday person and the people who came from not great backgrounds and didn't come from backgrounds where everybody worked and stuff like that. And you had people who went onto MasterChef that came from those backgrounds, and he was their champion. I've just been reading his article today about the retro daggy, you know, retro dishes that shouldn't be revived. Now, there's some here, he's got a really good point. Cooked avocado, please don't. You know, it's not meant to be cooked. Just don't do it. You know, that's fine. That's fine. But can I just say there's some points in here, Mr. Preston, that have angered me because they feel like classist bullshit. And living in the UK, it's a slap in the face to people here right now who are struggling badly, and who a lot of the things that you have mentioned are ways that they feed their families and make food stretch further. You know, right now we've got kids who are starving because the government won't help these families who are being shut down into lockdown for months and months and months at a time and unable to work. You know, we had kids who were starving here before. It's only that people have only just decided to open their eyes and realise, because they've had to go from working to nothing, you know. But what do I know, right? Well, I live in the middle of it. Okay, I live in a council house, in a council flat with my partner. I used to work in Australia too. And I was a chef. And I was a bloody good one. I chose not to go too far in my career because I had kids. I had 2 boys. And even though I was married, I was pretty much a single parent. And for most of their lives, I was a single parent. You know, and I struggled and I had to do things. And they, you know, there were, even though I was working as a chef, there were times that I could only afford to feed my kids and not myself. So I had to eat at work. And on the days when I had days off, I would eat what was left over from the kids, because that was the only way we could do it, and that was for months on end, even working as a chef. There's some stuff in here that really kind of gets in my craw a bit, and you know, yes, butter is a wonderful option. It's a wonderful option. But as a friend of mine said today, who's from Australia, when I put up a shortbread recipe yesterday, how the hell do you do this for 50p? Okay, well, I do it because we shop in places that are budget food. We have no choice. I'm now officially disabled. I can't walk far. I can't stand in the kitchen for longer than 10 minutes at a stretch. So cooking for me has to be quick, simple, and whatever we've got. Our budget for food for a fortnight is around £30. I'll let you sink that in for a second. £30 for a fortnight for 2 grown adults. Okay, now we only manage on that because we shop around, we know what to do with the food, and we grow some of our own stuff in the summer because we have the garden that we do. We're not allowed to do very much unless it can be basically covered over or removed. So we only have planter boxes, we've got a few containers, we've got the front flower beds, but apart from that we can't do very much else until we can get the polytunnel up in the spring, which we might be even told to take down halfway through the growing season. Yeah. That cost us a lot of money to set up. In fact, you know, I mean, we live on £7,000 a year for everything. Everything. My partner is my full-time carer. He gets £60 a week to look after me 24/7. Well, he only has to do it for like 35 hours. But if he gets a job of any description, his money goes down. Oh, and to get that, they took 50 off me, and the government actually only pays him tenner. So that's what they think of carers in this country. Now, to make our food go further, we do things like use condensed cans of soup to make things go further. We have to. We can't just make a meal and expect it just to feed one person, unless it's something like beans on toast. Even then, I can make a can of beans go around 4 people. But not everybody can. Some of the stuff in here, for some of the people that you're talking about, and I've worked with underprivileged people for a very, very long time, teaching them how to cook and such like. Okay, a lot of these things that you're talking about are dishes that they learn to cook with. Duchess potatoes is a big one. It's a huge one. It makes them feel good about themselves. And yes, you know, you might think that it's a bit daggy and what have you, but it means to them they've learnt to use a piping bag. And they can put something fancy on the Christmas dinner table. You know, or if, you know, it's Mum's birthday and it's the first time that I can actually show her that I can do something nice for them. Broccoli chicken divan has nothing to do with yogurt or mustard sauce. Nothing. Nothing. It's one of those dishes that parents make to make a couple of chicken breasts go around a family of 4, or sometimes even 1. Okay, now in this country, if you go to the supermarket to buy a chicken, you'll be sorely disappointed because most families can't afford to buy 1 chicken unless they go to the frozen section and buy 3 for a tenner, or even go to the frozen food supermarkets like Iceland and Farm Foods and pick them up on offer in there for £1.99. That's it. And we know it's not the best quality, but it's what we've got, and it's what we've got to feed our families with. Places like Farm Foods already sell things like cubed cooked chicken, and they're bags for 3 or 4 for a tenner. Now, when you've only got a tenner to feed your family for a few days, you're going to actually use those, buy them, make them go as far as you can. And with the broccoli chicken divan, that's exactly what it does. They'll use frozen broccoli, which you can get 5 bags for £4, or is it 4 bags for £5? 5 bags for £4 of frozen veg. So they'll buy the frozen broccoli, they'll get the frozen chicken cubes, they will chuck in a can of soup because it's only 35p. For the cheapest soup you can get is 35p a can. Whatever milk that they've got, if they've got it, or they'll chuck in some water. If they've got some cheese, they'll use that. If they don't, then they won't. And then they'll chuck some dry breadcrumbs on top. And that's it. That's all a broccoli chicken divan is. And honestly, it will feed a family of 4 with just a handful of that chicken, and it will make it go further. What you'll probably find is a lot of these families will chuck in a handful of rice to make it go even further again, and up the amount of water and just make it a 1-pot recipe. These are the kinds of things that are starting to a little bit irk me, and I kind of feel like the professional food industry is starting to really belittle people who have to eat poor, and it's making things harder. Things like changing the way that you talk about food, being that, you know, meat and seafood are now called proteins. Well, what happened to the legumes and beans and things like that, and mushrooms, that are so full of protein that they're up there alongside meat? Stop calling things what they're not, making people feel bad about themselves because they can't afford the meat, so have to eat a vegetarian and eat a lot of beans and legumes and stuff like that. I mean, yes, there are some people who do that on purpose, and that's up to them, but a lot of people don't, and that's what they have to eat. So stop belittling them and saying it's not protein, because you never, ever, I've never heard it, ever discussed as protein on any of these shows like MasterChef Australia, and that, again, irks me to hell, because I love MasterChef Australia. I'm a huge fan, and I love it to pieces. Okay. Cucumber salmons. I remember doing those. I remember doing those when I was working. And that was only 10 years ago. You know, over here, I mean, if people are lucky enough to get hold of a whole salmon, I can absolutely guarantee you that if they're trying to do something impressive for their families and they don't have a lot of money and they've managed to get hold of a salmon, that is probably one of the things that they will do. Because to them, it's fancy. Cold pasta salad is still sold in supermarkets. Whether you like it or not is up to you. That's entirely up to you. But over here, it's a staple food. And it's something that is called salad. So therefore, it's healthier. It may be, it may not be, depending on how you make it. But a lot of people do like it, and a lot of people do buy it, otherwise they wouldn't sell it. They also sell it in Australia, by the way, in most supermarkets, in the deli counter and in the salad area. So, you know, please just stop. I mean, a lot of this is just based on your opinion, but it feels like you're really, really slapping in the face of the average everyday person, especially those who can't afford a lot or think that some of these things are actually doing some good for their families and themselves, and especially their own self-esteem. And right now, self-esteem is really, really low. Really low. Morale is lower than low. And over Christmas, I'm expecting to hear about suicide rates hitting through the roof. So having things like this written by people like you is really, really sad. And it's disheartening to those people, because they do look up to you and you are thought of quite highly over here as an authority. So, you know, yeah. Cajun chicken, that's another one. People eat that here. You know, I agree with you that a lot of places used it as an excuse to burn it, but some people over here actually think that it's almost like having it for takeaway night. As instead of having it for buying takeaway, they'll make something like that. Things in rings. If things weren't meant to be in rings, Mr. Preston, they wouldn't sell the ring molds. I'm just saying. You know? Sure, aspic isn't great. In some ways it is. And over here you seem to forget that one of the greatest things in this country that they will fight you over is the pork pie, which is so loaded with aspic. It just happens to be wrapped in pastry. So, I'm just saying, please be really careful about your opinions. People listen, people watch. I am doing my best right now to actually help people by showing them that there is a way that they can actually make meals to feed their families and make their food go a little bit further. But having people like you writing articles like this that belittle that. Oh, and margarine, everyone uses it, mate. So much cheaper than butter. People can't afford it. They can't. We have to buy 2 kilo tubs for £1.50 because butter is just off the menu unless it's Christmas. Anywho, I'm gonna go. I do love you, Matt. I'm just asking that people in the professional industry of cooking start realizing that there is a small minority of people that can afford to eat the way you do. A small minority. The majority is rising for the people who can't. And those who read your articles and start feeling more bad about themselves at a time when they can't afford to is not helpful. Please think about what you're saying. Think about what you're putting out there before you do it. Love you guys heaps. I'll see you guys later on. Bye.